This is a video to show how you can convert your Party Pig beer dispenser to use CO2 to pressurize the Party Pig so you can continue to use it. The company that made the Party Pig went out of business, and so there are no more pressure packs for the Party Pig. But if you'd like to use CO2 as a way of pressurizing the Party Pig so you can continue to use it as a dispenser, this video will show you how to do it. What you need are 5 things to make this conversion. The first is the valve, which is going to be installed in the Party Pig. It is a Schrader valve. It's stainless steel. You can buy these online for maybe about $3. No, they're not expensive. The Schrader valve is the same as a bicycle tire valve, or even the valves that are on your car. Same valves. In addition to that, you'll need a 7/16 inch drill bit. Actually, this valve comes with 2 sizes. You can either have a 7/16 inch hole or I believe a 9/16 inch hole. But for this I did 7/16 inch, so you need a drill bit to drill a hole for the valve. You also need a inflator. Here's a bicycle, just a typical bicycle inflator. And the silver thing is the CO2 cartridge. You do want to get beverage grade CO2, so you will want to use a company that sells that. And then finally I just bought a digital pressure gauge, because you do want something that gets down to at least 10 psi, if not lower, accurately. Because at 40 degrees, which is what you'll usually be carbonating this at, that's about the pressure between 10 and 15 that you want. Installing the valve on the Party Pig is fairly simple. All you have to do is drill a hole in the Party Pig itself. This is the area that I chose to do it. The Party Pig is strongest here and in the back. I did not want to put the valve in the back, because if you're trying to, when you're filling it, and if you have that stand, that's going to get in the way. And I don't know, I just felt like the valve close to the spout would be the best place to put it. So all you need to do is drill a hole here for the right size. Like I said, I'm using 7/16 inch. I chose this particular spot because I could actually get 2 fingers into the mouth of the Party Pig and hold the valve there while I tighten the nut here. The nut's on the outside, and there's the other part of the valve is on the inside. So that was the reason for that. But if you have some way of, holding the valve and getting it in the hole higher up, you could do that. But this is fine. It doesn't get in the way. It's actually perfect for what I wanted to do. Plus, I can put more beer into it. So you drilled a 7/16 inch hole here. Used a little file to get rid of all the burrs and stuff. These valves actually come with 2 different O-rings. This isn't necessary, but the 7/16 inch O-ring is in there now. But if you went for the larger size, I believe this is the 9/16 inch hole, you would use this bigger O-ring for that. But that's basically it. And this would be the place where you would inject the CO2, and if you're checking pressure is where you'd be checking the pressure as well. Okay, now to talk about the operation of the this new Party Pig once you have this valve on here, and how you would use it. This is how, or at least how I used it. When I was filling the Party Pig, I filled it, normally you would fill it up to this 2 1/4 line, but that's because you put the pressure pack in. Now there's not going to be any pressure pack, so you're free to fill it up as high as you want to. In this particular case, I was going to force carbonate it, so I kept the beer just below this line. That gives you a little bit of gas volume here that you can use to pump CO2 in there and then to carbonate it faster. But if you were naturally just going to use natural carbonation and prime this, you could probably just fill it as high as you want to. Once you have it filled, usually it's in the stand and it's looking like this. Once you have it filled and you put the spout on and you tighten it down, then you want to push the air out of there the same way that after you activated the pack you would push this button to release the air. But in this case, you're going to use your CO2 attached to here, and you're going to push some CO2 in and then release this valve to try to push the air out. And you could either do it continuously, I guess, if you're good at that. Otherwise I would just do it maybe 3 or 4 times. Inject some CO2, release the gas, inject CO2, release the gas, and that should get the air out and fill this with carbon dioxide instead. If you are naturally carbonating it, that's all you need to do. Just get the air out and you're done. Just let your party pig sit until it carbonates itself naturally. The other thing I like about the valve being up here is when the party pig is up on its hind legs, as you would say. This is like right on top. The air bubble will be up here. I usually inject just a tiny squirt of CO2 just to clear the valve so that beer is not coming back up when I'm trying to check the pressure. If you're going to force carbonate the party pig, probably have a different method. I checked the last pressure pack that I had. I activated it and measured the pressure, and it was 25 psi at room temperature. That was about 68-70 degrees Fahrenheit. But you don't really, that's probably not even necessary because you're looking to pressurize this at a colder temperature. What you want to do when you force carbonate a beer is you want to chill the beer, get it down to 40 to 45 degrees, and then you pressurize it with CO2, shake it up, and then stick it back in the refrigerator or wherever you have it cooling down and let it sit there for about an hour. Come back. I would inject just a little quick shot of CO2 in here just to clear out any beer in case there's any beer in here, and then take a pressure reading. The first time it'll probably go down to 0. You'll pressurize it, shake it up, and it'll literally go down to 0 for the next time. And you'll have to do this several times before it gets the pressurization that you want. There's all sorts of things online where you can look up forced carbonation and how you do it. I don't really want to get into that here, but needless to say, it's less about the pressure and it's more about how much CO2 you're putting into it. This cartridge holds 16 grams, and I figured out that for about 2.5 gallons of beer, I would probably need somewhere between 28 and 30 grams of CO2, so you're literally going to be going through probably about 2 of these little CO2 cartridges just to force carbonate a party pig. But based upon that, how high can you take it? Well, you can easily take this to 25 psi because that's what the pressure packs used to put out. And I'm talking room temperature too. But I've taken this as high as 47 psi. It was kind of accidental, but I shot it up there and everything looked fine. It wasn't like I was leaking beer or anything out of here, so I just left it and it was fine. So it's truly a comfort level as far as how much you want to pressurize this when you're force carbonating it. In the future, I'll probably just get it up to 45 psi for the first couple of times that you're injecting the CO2. Probably do that all the way until I've used up 1 full cartridge, and then after that I'll probably back off and do, like, I don't know, 30 psi after that every time. But it's just a process where you're pressurizing the party pig, you're shaking it to kind of get the CO2 into solution, and then you're letting it sit so those bubbles go away and the CO2 goes into solution. And like I said, it's more about how much as CO2 you put into your beer and grams, and not so much about the pressurization itself. But what you'll find when you're done, when you know it's been pressurized correctly, is you'll stop losing pressure. There'll come a point where you put in whatever pressure you put in there, and when you come back an hour later, it's still at that same pressure. And at that point, I would bleed out. If you pressurized it to 25 psi at 40 degrees, that's pretty high, so I'd probably bleed it down to about 15, and then you're done. And that's it. The only other thing about the party pig, the only other worry that I have is this O-ring in here. Mine's getting old. It's getting hard and a little bit brittle, and I have no idea where I can get new ones. That's the only other part that I would need to keep this party pig going, but other than that, for now, this is all you need. And then bring it to your parties, and as people are dispensing, you just need to keep injecting more CO2 to keep this pressurized so it dispenses beer. Hope you liked the video. Thanks.